The last rays of twilight painted the Twilight Valleys in shades of amber and violet. Celestria lay curled beneath the ancient cloudpine trees, her once radiant scales now dull like forgotten embers. For 3,000 years she had soared through the cosmic winds, a dragon born of starlight itself, but now her wings felt like stone against her sides. She had seen galaxies spiral into existence. She had danced through nebulae that sang with the voices of newborn worlds. She had loved and lost, watched her kind fade into legend, and finally found herself here in this quiet corner of the realm where magic still breathed through the air. This was where she had chosen to let go. The valley hummed with gentle energy, a place where the boundary between earth and sky blurred into something dreamlike. Wisps of cloud drifted through the trees like curious spirits. Streams flowed upward as often as down, defying the simple rules that governed other places. It was beautiful, and Celestria had thought it a fitting place to fade away. Her heart, which had once burned with the intensity of a sun, now beat with the slow rhythm of a dying star. The constellation markings along her body, patterns that had guided travelers through the void for millennia, flickered weakly. She was tired, so very tired. A sound broke through her resignation. Not the whisper of wind or the babble of reverse streams, but something alive and powerful. Thunder rumbled across the valley, though the sky above held no storm clouds. Celestria opened one crystalline eye, more from habit than curiosity. Through the trees, she saw him, a creature of pure elemental fury, all dark scales and crackling energy. His form shifted between solid matter and living tempest, lightning dancing beneath his skin like captured starlight. A storm beast, young by the measure of immortal beings, but already powerful beyond reckoning. Orion prowled through the valley, his eyes the color of thunderheads, searching for something he could not name. He had been born from the first great storm that swept across the realm when the old magic and new collided. For 50 years he had wandered, seeking purpose, seeking connection, seeking anything that might explain the restless energy that consumed him. He froze when he saw her. Even diminished, even fading, Celestria was magnificent. Her scales held the memory of distant stars, and her eyes contained the depth of space itself. She was everything the cosmos had once been, beautiful and terrible and impossibly ancient. "You are dying," Orion said, his voice carrying the weight of distant thunder. Celestria considered not answering. She had not spoken to another living soul in decades. But something in his presence stirred the embers within her. "I am letting go," she corrected softly. "There is a difference." "Why?" The question rumbled from him, genuine and confused. "You are a star dragon. Your kind shaped the heavens themselves." "My kind is gone," Celestria replied, her voice carrying the weight of millennia. "I am the last. There is nothing left to shape, no purpose left to serve." Orion moved closer, his form solidifying as he approached. Up close, she could see that his scales were not merely dark, but contained every shade of storm cloud. From soft gray to deepest black, all swirling with inner light. That cannot be true. The universe does not create beings of such power without reason. A bitter sound escaped Celestria, something between a laugh and a sigh. "You are young. You still believe the universe has reasons for things." "I believe everything has purpose," Orion insisted, settling on his haunches before her. Lightning flickered through his mane, casting strange shadows. "I was born from chaos, from the collision of magics that should never have met. Yet here I am. There must be meaning in that." Perhaps Celestria conceded, studying him with growing interest despite herself. "Or perhaps we are simply accidents, cosmic mistakes that persist because the universe has not yet noticed us." "I do not believe that," Orion said firmly. "And I do not believe you are meant to fade away in this place, however beautiful it may be." Celestria closed her eyes again. "What I am meant to do is no longer relevant. I am tired, Storm Child. I have lived too long and seen too much. The weight of ages presses down upon me." Silence fell between them, filled only by the ambient magic of the valley. Then Celestria felt something unexpected, a warmth against her side. She opened her eyes to find Orion had moved closer, his body radiating heat like a living furnace. "What are you doing?" she asked. "You said you were tired," Orion replied simply. "Rest then. But you do not have to rest alone." Now the gesture was so unexpected, so purely kind, that Celestria felt something crack within her ancient heart. When had anyone last offered her comfort without wanting something in return? When had anyone seen past her power to the being beneath? "You do not know me," she whispered. "I could be dangerous." "So could I," Orion pointed out. "I am storm-given flesh, chaos-bound in scales. Together, we could probably destroy this entire valley without trying." Despite everything, Celestria felt her mouth curve into something almost like a smile. "Is that supposed to be comforting?" "No," Orion admitted, and she could hear the smile in his voice too. "But it is honest. I am not good at pretending to be something I am not." The warmth of him seeped into her cold scales, and Celestria realized she had not felt truly warm in centuries. She had surrounded herself with the chill of space, with the distance of ages, until she had forgotten what simple warmth felt like. "Stay if you wish," she said finally. "Though I warn you, I am not pleasant company." "Neither am I," Orion said cheerfully. "We should get along perfectly." As the twilight deepened around them, Celestria found herself relaxing in a way she had not in countless years. The storm beast beside her hummed with energy, a living counterpoint to her fading light. Perhaps, she thought drowsily, perhaps the universe had one more surprise left for her after all. The morning mist clung to the Twilight Valleys like a silk veil, and Celestria woke to find Orion still beside her. He had not left during the night. The realization sent an unfamiliar flutter through her ancient heart. "You are still here," she murmured, her voice carrying surprise. Orion opened his eyes, storm-gray and alert. "Did you think I would leave?" "Most do," Celestria admitted. "When they realize I have nothing to offer them." "I did not stay for what you could offer," Orion said, rising and stretching. Lightning crackled along his spine as he moved. "I stayed because I wanted to." The simplicity of his answer left Celestria momentarily speechless. For 3,000 years, every interaction had been transactional. Beings sought her wisdom, her power, her protection. None had ever simply wanted her company. As the days passed, Orion returned again and again. He brought her stories of the changing world beyond the valley, the new creatures emerging from the fusion of old magic and modern reality. He spoke of cities where technology and enchantment intertwined, of forests that sang with digital consciousness, of oceans that dreamed in code and current. "The world is becoming something new," Orion told her one afternoon, his excitement palpable. "Neither purely magical nor purely mechanical, but something in between. Something beautiful." Celestria listened, and despite herself, she felt curiosity stirring within her. "You speak as though you love this changing world." "I do," Orion said without hesitation. "It is chaos and order dancing together. It is everything I am. And what are you?" Celestria asked, genuinely curious now. "Beyond storm and scales?" Orion considered the question, his form flickering between solid and ephemeral. "I am possibility," he said finally. "I am the space between what was and what will be. I am the moment when lightning strikes and everything changes." The poetry in his words struck something deep within Celestria. She had forgotten that existence could be described with wonder rather than weariness. "You make it sound like hope," she said softly. "Is that not what storms bring?" Orion moved closer, his eyes holding hers. "They tear down what is weak and rotting, yes. But they also bring rain to nourish new growth. They clear the air so we can breathe again." Celestria felt her constellation markings flicker more brightly, responding to his energy. "You are unlike any being I have ever encountered." "Good," Orion said, a playful rumble in his voice. "I would hate to be predictable." As weeks turned to months, something extraordinary began to happen. Celestria felt herself growing stronger. The warmth that Orion brought was not merely physical but something deeper, something that rekindled the dying embers of her spirit. Her scales began to shimmer again, not with their former brilliance perhaps, but with a new kind of light, softer and warmer. One evening, as they sat together watching the stars emerge, Celestria finally spoke the truth that had been growing in her heart. I think I am falling in love with you.
Oh.
The words hung in the air like crystallized starlight. Orion went very still, his storm energy calming to a gentle hum. I have loved you since the moment I saw you, he admitted. I did not have words for it then, but I know it now. We are impossible, Celestria said, though her voice held no conviction. You are storm and fury, born of chaos. I am order and eternity, born of the cosmos. We should not work. And yet we do, Orion said, moving until they were side by side, scales touching scales. Where Star Dragon met Storm Beast, their energies merged in cascades of light and shadow, creating patterns that had never existed before. Perhaps that is the point. Perhaps the universe brought us together precisely because we are different. Celestria leaned into him, feeling complete for the first time in millennia. My kind believed we were above such things as love. We thought ourselves too grand for simple emotions. Were they happy? Orion asked gently. No, Celestria admitted. We were powerful, but we were not happy. We were eternal, but we were not fulfilled. Then perhaps they were wrong, Orion suggested. Perhaps love is not a weakness, but the greatest power of all. Their peace was shattered 3 days later when the wardens arrived. These were ancient beings tasked with maintaining the boundaries between different realms of existence, and they viewed the union of Star Dragon and Storm Beast with alarm. Their leader, an entity of pure crystalline light named Terminus, manifested before them. This cannot continue, he declared, his voice resonating with authority. You are mixing forces that should remain separate. Already we have detected anomalies spreading from this valley. Reality itself grows unstable where your energies combine. Celestria rose to her full height, her constellation markings blazing with renewed power. We have harmed no one. Not yet, Terminus countered. But you are a star dragon, bonding with a creature of elemental chaos. Your union creates patterns that could tear holes in the fabric of existence itself. Or create something new, Orion growled, lightning dancing along his form. Something better than what came before. You are too young to understand the danger, Terminus said, his tone almost pitying. Celestria knows. She has seen worlds unmade by careless mixing of primal forces. It was true. Celestria had witnessed such catastrophes in her long existence. She had seen reality fracture when incompatible energies collided. Yet what she felt when she was with Orion did not feel destructive. It felt like creation itself, like the birth of stars. Give us time, Celestria said. Let us prove that our bond can be stable. We cannot risk it, Terminus replied. You must separate, or we will separate you by force. Now, the threat hung in the air like a blade. Celestria and Orion exchanged glances, 1,000 conversations passing between them in that single look. They could fight, but fighting the wardens would require them to unleash their full power, potentially proving Terminus right about the danger they posed. We need to make a choice, Celestria said quietly to Orion. A real one. Then let us choose together, Orion replied, his voice steady despite the storm building within him. Whatever comes, we face it as one. The standoff in the Twilight Valleys had drawn attention from across the realm. Other ancient beings arrived to witness the confrontation between love and law, between possibility and preservation. The air itself seemed to hold its breath. Celestria stood beside Orion, their combined presence making the very fabric of reality shimmer and bend. She could feel the fear of the wardens, their genuine belief that this union would bring catastrophe. But she could also feel something else, something they could not or would not acknowledge. The energy she and Orion created together was not chaotic. It was harmonious in a way that transcended traditional understanding. There is another option, Celestria said suddenly, an idea crystallizing in her ancient mind. A test that will prove whether our bond is destructive or creative. Terminus regarded her with suspicion. What test? The weaving Celestria declared, and a ripple of shock passed through the assembled beings. The ancient trial where two souls attempt to merge their essences completely. If our energies are truly incompatible, the weaving will reveal it. We will be separated naturally, unharmed, but unable to bond again. And if you are compatible, Terminus asked, though his crystalline form betrayed his doubt. Then we will have proven that love can bridge any divide, Orion finished, his voice carrying absolute certainty. The weaving was a ritual as old as consciousness itself, used by ancient beings to test the deepest compatibility between souls. It required complete vulnerability, the stripping away of all defenses and pretenses. If two beings were truly meant to be together, the weaving would bind them in ways that transcended physical form. If not, it would gently but firmly push them apart. Very well, Terminus agreed, clearly believing the ritual would solve his problem. We will witness the weaving. But if it fails, you must accept separation without protest. Celestria and Orion moved to the center of the valley, where the boundary between earth and sky was thinnest. They faced each other, scales nearly touching, eyes locked. Are you certain? Celestria asked softly. The weaving shows everything. All that we are, all that we have been, all our fears and flaws. There will be no secrets between us. I have no secrets I wish to keep from you, Orion replied, and I am not afraid of what I might see in you. I love all that you are, Celestria, even the parts you think are broken. Tears formed in Celestria's ancient eyes, the first she had shed in 1,000 years. Then let us begin. They pressed their foreheads together, and the weaving commenced. Energy exploded outward from their joined forms, not violently, but with the inexorable power of a star being born. Those watching saw patterns emerge in the air around them, impossibly complex geometries that spoke of lives lived across eons. Celestria felt Orion's essence flowing into her, and she into him. She experienced his birth from the collision of magics, felt his 50 years of lonely wandering, understood his desperate search for meaning and connection. She saw herself through his eyes, not as a fading relic, but as something precious and beautiful, worthy of love. In turn, Orion experienced Celestria's 3,000 years. He felt the weight of ages, the slow accumulation of loss and loneliness. He understood why she had chosen to fade, not from weakness, but from a grief so profound it had seemed impossible to bear. And he felt her awakening, the moment she had looked at him and allowed herself to hope again. Their energies intertwined, star and storm becoming something entirely new. Where they merged, reality did not fracture. Instead, it bloomed. New colors appeared in the spectrum, shades that had never existed before. The air sang with frequencies that made the observers weep with unexpected joy. The constellation markings on Celestria's scales began to move, flowing like liquid light across to Orion's form. His storm energy wrapped around her, protective and fierce. They were becoming something unprecedented. It's not a fusion that destroyed their individual natures, but a partnership that enhanced them both. Terminus watched in stunned silence as the weaving completed. When Celestria and Orion finally separated, they were changed, but still themselves. Celestria's scales now held threads of storm cloud gray, and lightning flickered gently along her spine. Orion's dark form was shot through with points of starlight, like a living constellation. Impossible, Terminus whispered. No, Celestria said, her voice resonant with new power. Simply unprecedented. You feared we would destroy reality. Instead, we have expanded it. Created new possibilities where none existed before. Orion smiled, his eyes blazing with joy and triumph. We are proof that different forces can come together without chaos. That love does not weaken, but strengthens. The assembled beings could not deny what they had witnessed. The weaving had not merely accepted the bond between Star Dragon and Storm Beast. It had celebrated it, weaving their essences together in patterns that sang with rightness and purpose. What will you do now? One of the observers asked, her voice filled with wonder. Celestria looked at Orion, and they shared a smile that held entire universes. We will live, she said simply. We will explore this changing world together. We will create new things, discover new truths. We will love each other with everything we are. And we will show others that boundaries are not walls, but invitations, Orion added. That the spaces between different forces are where the most beautiful things can grow. The wardens departed, their objections silenced by the undeniable success of the weaving. The other observers lingered, drawn by the radiant energy that emanated from the transformed couple. As twilight fell over the valley once more, Celestria and Orion took flight together for the first time. Her wings, restored and strengthened by their bond, caught the wind alongside his storm-born currents. They spiraled upward, two beings who had each been incomplete, finding wholeness in each other. Below them, the Twilight Valleys began to change. Where their combined energy had touched the earth, new flowers bloomed. Species that had never existed before, petals of starlight and storm shadow. The streams sang with new melodies, and the air itself seemed lighter, infused with possibility. "I was ready to die," Celestria said as they soared through clouds painted gold by the setting sun. "I thought my story was ending." "It was," Orion replied, flying close enough that their wings nearly touched. "And now, a new story begins." "Our story," Celestria whispered. "For seeing me, for loving me, for reminding me that even ancient hearts can learn to hope again." "Thank you," Orion echoed, "for teaching me that strength and gentleness can coexist, that power is nothing without purpose, and purpose is nothing without love." They flew together into the gathering night, their forms creating new constellations against the darkening sky. Those who witnessed their passage would remember it always. The moment when a star dragon who had lost her will to live found reason to soar again, and a storm beast who had searched for meaning discovered it in the most unexpected place. In the end, their love did change reality. But not through destruction, through creation. They became legends whispered across the realm. Proof that the universe still held mysteries, still offered second chances, still rewarded those brave enough to love across impossible divides. And in the Twilight Valleys, where sky meets earth and magic dances with possibility, their story lived on. A reminder that endings can become beginnings, that loneliness can transform into connection, and that sometimes the greatest power in all existence is simply the courage to open one's heart again. Celestria and Orion flew on, two souls woven together by the weaving, bound by love stronger than starlight, deeper than storms, eternal as the cosmos itself. Their journey was just beginning, and the universe watched with wonder to see what they would create next.